Good morning. Today is Tuesday, June 2nd, and we'll be reading 1 Kings 6 and 7.
They're at Super Kids Camp. Yes, they are. Super Kids Camp. Yes.
Super fun.
They're going to have super fun. And now it's Bible reading time. And so we've spent the day with you and with Catherine. You're coloring that one? All right. Are you ready? Yes, thank you for taking my bookmark. Thank you very much. Why don't you go over there and color while we read? Daddy's going to read. Okay? All right. Thank you, Catherine.
Solomon builds the temple. In the 480th year after the children of Israel came out of the land of Egypt, in the 4th year of Solomon's reign over Israel, in the month Ziv, which is the 2nd month, he began to build the house of the Lord. The house which King Solomon built for the Lord had a length of 60 cubits, a width of 20 cubits, and a height of 30 cubits. The porch in front of the temple was 20 cubits in length, the same as the width of the house, and 10 cubits deep in front of the house. He made beveled windows for the house. He also built a structure against the wall of the house, running around the walls of the house, both of the temple and of the inner sanctuary, and he made side chambers all around. The lowest story was 5 cubits broad, the middle one was 6 cubits broad, and the third was 7 cubits broad. For around the outside of the house he made offsets of the wall, so that the supporting beams should not be inserted into the walls of the house. The house was built of stone prepared at the quarry, so that neither hammer nor axe nor any tool of iron was heard in the house while it was being built. The door for the middle chamber was in the right side of the house, and they had winding stairs in the middle chamber and out of the middle into the third. So he built the house and finished it and covered it with beams and boards of cedar. Then he built chambers against the whole house, 5 cubits high, and they rested on the house with timber of cedar. Now the word of the Lord came to Solomon, saying, concerning this house which you are building, if you will walk in my statutes and execute my judgments and keep all my commandments and walk in them, then I will carry out my word with you, which I spoke to David your father, and I will dwell among the people of Israel, and will not forsake my people Israel. So Solomon built the house and finished it. He built the interior walls of the house with boards of cedar, from the floor of the house to the ceiling. He covered them on the inside with wood, and he covered the floor of the house with planks of fir. He lined 20 cubits on the sides of the house, both the floor and the walls, with boards of cedar, and he even lined them within, even the inner sanctuary and the most holy place. The house that is the nave in front of the inner sanctuary was 40 cubits long. The cedar of the house within had carvings of gourds and open floors. All was cedar, there was no stone seen. He prepared the inner sanctuary in the inner part of the house in order to set there the ark of the covenant of the Lord. The inner sanctuary was 20 cubits long, 20 cubits wide, and 20 cubits high. He overlaid it with pure gold. He also overlaid the altar of cedar. So Solomon overlaid the interior of the house with pure gold, and he made a partition with gold chains in front of the inner sanctuary, and he overlaid it with gold. He overlaid the whole house with gold, as well as the whole altar that was by the inner sanctuary. Within the inner sanctuary he made 2 cherubim from olive wood, each 10 cubits high. One wing of the cherub was 5 cubits, and the other wing was also 5 cubits. From the furthest part of one wing to the furthest part of the other was 10 cubits. The other cherub was 10 cubits. Both the cherubim were the same shape and size. The height of the one cherub was 10 cubits, and so was that of the other cherub. He set the cherubim within the inner sanctuary, and they stretched forth their wings of the cherubim, so that the wing of one touched the one wall, and the wing of the other cherub touched the other wall, and the wings touched one another in the middle of the house. He overlaid the cherubim with gold. He carved all the walls of the house with carved figures of cherubim and palm trees and open flowers, both inside and out. He overlaid the floor of the house with gold, both inside and out. For the entrance to the inner sanctuary, he made doors of olive wood. The lintel and doorposts were 5-sided. The 2 doors were also made of olive wood. He carved on them cherubim, palm trees, and open flowers, overlaid them with gold, and spread gold upon the cherubim and upon the palm trees. So also he made for the entrance to the nave 4-sided posts of olive wood. The 2 doors were made from fir tree, with 2 leaves of each door folding. He carved on them cherubim and palm trees, and open flowers, and covered them with gold fitted upon the carved work. He built the inner court within 3 rows of hewed stone and a row of cedar beams. In the 4th year, in the month Hazim, the foundation of the house of the Lord was laid. And in the 11th year, in the month Bul, which is the 8th month, the house was completely finished. All the details and plans were met. So he took 7 years to build it. Solomon's palace built. Solomon was building his own house for 13 years, and he finished all his house. He built the house of the forest of Lebanon. Its length was 100 cubits, and its width was 50 cubits, and its height was 30 cubits. Built on 4 rows of cedar pillars, with cedar beams upon the pillars. It was covered with cedar over the top of the beams, which sat upon 45 pillars, 15 in a row. There were window frames in 3 rows, and the window opposite window in 3 tiers. All the doors and posts were rectangular, with the openings facing each other in 3 tiers. He made a porch of pillars with a length of 50 cubits and the breadth of 30 cubits. There was a porch in front of them with pillars and a canopy in front of them. Then he made a porch for the throne from which he would judge, and he called it the Hall of Judgment. It was covered with cedar from one side of the floor to the other. His own house, where he lived, in the other court, back of the hall, was similar in style. Solomon also made a house like this for Pharaoh's daughter, whom he had taken as a wife. All these were built with costly stones, cut to size and sawed with saws on the inside and outside, from the foundation up to the coping throughout the outside toward the great court. The foundation was of large costly stones of 10 and 8 cubits in size. Above were costly stones cut to size, along with cedars. The great court was enclosed with 3 rows of hewed stones and a row of cedar beams. So were the inner court of the house of the Lord and the porch of the house. The furnishings of the temple. Now King Solomon sent and called Hiram out of Tyre. He was the son of a widow from the tribe of Naphtali, and his father was a man of Tyre who worked in bronze. And he was filled with wisdom and understanding and skill to make all sorts of items in bronze. So he came to King Solomon, and he performed all his work. He cast his 2 pillars of bronze, 18 cubits high each and 12 cubits in circumference. He made 2 capitals of cast bronze to set on top of the pillars. The height of the one capital was 5 cubits, and the height of the other capital was 5 cubits. He made lattices of checker work with wreaths of chain work for the capitals on top of the pillars, 7 one for one capital and 7 for the other. Likewise he made pomegranates in 2 rows around the one lattice work to cover the capital that was on the top of the pillar, and he did the same for the other capital. The capitals that were on top of the pillars and the porch were 4 cubits high in the shape of lilies. The capitals on top of the 2 pillars also had pomegranates above by the convex surface, which were next to the lattice work. There were 200 pomegranates in rows encircling each capital. He set up the pillars in the porch of the temple. He set up the right pillar, and he called it Jachin, and he set up the left pillar and called it Boaz. The tops of the pillars were in the shape of lilies. This completed the work on the pillars. He made a cast metal sea 10 cubits from one side to the other. It was round, and it had a height of 5 cubits and a line of 30 cubits encircled it. Under the brim all the way around there were gourds, 10 in a cubit when it was cast, and the gourds were placed in 2 rows going all the way around it. It stood on top of 12 oxen, with 3 facing north, 3 facing toward the west, 3 facing toward the south, and 3 facing toward the east. The sea was set on them, and their hindquarters were turned inward. It was a handbreadth thick, and the brim was made similar to the brim of a cup, like a lily blossom. It could hold 2,000 baths.
Wow.
He made 10 stands out of bronze, each measuring 4 cubits long, 4 cubits wide, and 3 cubits high. The work of the stands looked like this. They had panels, and the panels were set in the frames, and on the panels that were set in the frames were lions, oxen, and cherubim. On the frames, both above and below the lions and oxen, were wreaths of beveled work. Every stand had 4 bronze wheels and axles of bronze, and at 4 corners were supports for a basin. The supports were cast with wreaths at the side of each. Its opening was within a crown that projected upward 1 cubit. Its opening was round like the work of a pedestal, a cubit and a half deep. At its opening there were engravings, and its panels were 4-faced, not round. Underneath the panels were 4 wheels, and the axles of the wheels were joined to the stand, and the height of a wheel was a cubit and a half. The wheels worked like chariot wheels, in that their axles and rims and spokes and hubs were all cast metal. There were 4 supports for the 4 corners of each stand, and the supports were part of one piece with the stand itself. On the top of the stand there was a round band half a cubit high, and on the top of the stand its stays and its panels were of one piece with it. On the surface of its stays and on its panels he engraved cherubim, lions, and palm trees according to the space of each, with wreaths all around. In this way he made 10 stands, with them all having the same shape, measure, and size. Then he made 10 basins of bronze, with each basin able to hold 40 baths, each being 4 cubits. Upon every one of the 10 stands sat 1 basin. He put 5 stands on the right side of the house, and 5 on the left side of the house. He set the sea on the right side of the house toward the southeast. Hiram also made the pots, the shovels, and the basins. So Hiram finished all the work in making items for King Solomon for use in the house of the Lord. The 2 pillars, the 2 bowls of the capitals that were on top of the 2 pillars, and the 2 lattice works to cover the 2 bowls of the capitals that were upon the tops of the pillars, and the 400 pomegranates for the 2 lattice works, 2 rows of pomegranates for each lattice work, to cover the 2 bowls of the capitals that were on the pillars, the 10 stands and 10 basins on the stands, 1 sea, and the 12 oxen under the sea, the pots, the shovels, and the basins. All these vessels that Hiram made for King Solomon for the house of the Lord were of burnished bronze. In the plain of the Jordan, the king cast them in the clay ground between Succoth and Zarethan. Solomon left all the vessels unweighed because there were so many. The weight of the bronze was also never measured. Solomon made all the vessels that were needed for the house of the Lord: the altar of God of gold, the table of gold on which was showbread, the candlesticks of pure gold, 5 on the right side and 5 on the left before the inner sanctuary, the flowers, the lamps, and the tongues of gold, the cups, snuffers, basins, and dishes for incense, fire pans of pure gold, the sockets for the doors of the innermost of the house, the most holy place, and for the doors of the nave of the temple of gold. All the work that King Solomon made for the house of the Lord was completed, and Solomon brought in the things which David his father had dedicated, the silver, the gold, the cups, and he put them among the treasures of the house of the Lord.
That is 2 Kings 6 and 7.
6 and 7.
Bye.
Bye. Have a good day.
Meow.
Yes. Yes, 1 Kings. So, Catherine, you're 2. You're 2. And you're 5. Now, Catherine,
Yes.
are you ready to get in your high chair for the next reading?
No.
No? Do you know you're going to be? Do you plan to actually sit there and read the next go round? Or color? Yes, I mean color. You think you're going to sit there and color next time? Yes?
Okay.
You've done a lot of coloring, girl.
Yes.
Yes.
The animals.
Animals?
Yes.
You're going to color the animals next go round?
Yes.
Yes?
Oh,
You're going to sit there? You're going to do that one?
I did the orchies on the side.
All right. We'll say goodbye. And then we'll come back for...
I did the orchies on
Bye.
the sides.
Say goodbye again.
Bye.
Bye.
I did the orchies on the sides. More water. Orchies
Yes,
on
yes,
this
you
side.
did take my water. Let's not do that. Thank you. Bye.
More water.